Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marvel Plus podcast, a show where we talk Marvel shows on Disney Plus and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast every Sunday, or on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern, unless we pre-record. We'll let you know when we do those. You can check it out over there, chat along if you're a sub, and theorize along with us. It would be awesome to share those thoughts and feelings with you guys. If you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. It is put over on YouTube and SoundCloud the very next day, Monday at 12 noon Eastern. You can give it a listen, give it a watch over there, and let us know what you think in the comments. But we're talking about Loki, episode 1 today, Glorious Purpose. So, it's an exciting show so far. It's turned out to be what I wanted it to be, and only this one episode. We're going to go balls to the wall, crazy like WandaVision, I think, theory-wise and thought-wise. I'm very excited to chat with you guys about the episode. The release schedule is a little bit different than Falcon, Winter Soldier, and WandaVision, where that dropped on Friday. This one is now dropping on Wednesdays. So this first week threw me off a little bit. Schedule-wise, I'm a little bit more busier now, but I didn't get a chance to watch this episode until earlier today as of recording. Going forward, I think I'm going to watch Night Of because I will be up at that time, up late, so I think I'm going to catch it right away to try and avoid spoilers. Unfortunately, I did get spoiled a little bit with this episode just via Twitter and other social medias. Nothing too big in a way, two small things. I'll let you know what those were when we get to them. But is what it is. It's going to happen. So we're going to chat about that. If you're new to the Marvel Plus podcast, we're going to go through the whole summary. I take notes as I've been watching the episode, what I'm thinking is going on, what is going on, notes, etc. I'm going to be talking about the whole summary, my thoughts as the show was progressing through, and then we're going to talk theories and where we think things are going to go, what's going on, stuff like that. So let's get right on into it. We open the episode with a little recap of the events of Endgame, showing the Tesseract event with the Avengers traveling back in time, trying to get the Tesseract back, Loki obviously getting it and teleporting away, leading to the series that we're getting right now. For some reason, he teleports to Mongolia, the Mongolian desert. I don't know, whatever. Like, why didn't he go? I guess I know why he didn't go Asgard, but it was just a random location that he kind of teleported to. Yes, the recap was definitely nice to kind of just put you in the mindset of like, this is where we're picking up from. So yeah, there's that. He gets shot out of the portal that he teleports from too, which I thought was odd. Why couldn't he just teleport normally? But I digress. Time cops show up. They're all pissed. Some kind of standard sequence violation. Loki's getting in trouble, and they call him a variant. So he has been being taken from them. We get a cool little show of them controlling time, slowing it down, speeding it up, etc. with this collar they have placed on him. So we see that, like I said, they mention he's a variant, and they also mention something called the Sacred Timeline. And as they're leaving, they plant this little vial thing in the ground, and they push the little top, and they're going to reset the timeline. So kind of Men in Black style, I guess, wipe everything, people's memories, and then things will continue as planned, I guess. So we have a lot of questions already stemming from all this information that we're getting in this short sequence right off the bat. Excuse me. We see the time cops taking Loki to this facility, and we saw some interesting characters in there, some other variants that are kind of going through their processing, I guess you could say. There was a Skrull, and then there was another guy who was very chatty. I personally thought he looked like the bully from Spider-Man. I'm blanking on his name. I don't think it's Eddie Brock, because that's obviously Venom. Flash Thompson. I thought it was him. That would have been neat, but it's not. We get a better shot of him closer up later. It's not him. So we saw that. Along with the slowing down and speeding up time, we see that they have a rewind ability, essentially, or just kind of puts them back into positions that they were previously, as Loki was kind of causing some trouble. There was a cat, so I wrote a little note for the kitty cat. We go through a sequence of different parts of the process. As Loki checks in, we see that he goes in this room with the robot where they kind of degown him. He goes to another room where he's got to sign a legal document about everything he said ever. We saw that in the trailer, the little joke where he says what, and they print out a new sheet. And then after that, we have a scanner, which was interesting. He had to walk through almost like a metal detector to see if he was a robot. Why specifically are we checking if he's a robot? I don't know. Get a little comedy moment with that, with Loki freaking out if he's actually a robot and just didn't know because he brought that up. Turns out this metal detector is printing out a Polaroid, essentially, of his temporal aura. Not sure if that will come into play later or if that's just some fancy talk. Who knows? So we get this whole process of him getting checked out. Leads into this section where he's got to grab a ticket and go talk to essentially a DMV desk. We see what happens when he doesn't pull a ticket. See the other guy kind of gets instantly evaporated, zapped, whatever. So we get that, but as we're going through this DMV line, which him and the other guy, the only ones there at the moment, we get more, as the audience, we get more of this filler of what the TVA is. The time, I wrote it down somewhere. Of course. Time Variance Authority. Sorry about that. The Time Variance Authority. We get some more info about them through a little animated cartoon, kind of Disney-esque theme park thing. So I noticed there was a sign that said behave or get your clock cleaned. Seems like he's going to go on trial for crimes. Then we get through this little animated short. Personally, we got one of the biggest things to come out of this show already. Multiverse War. Now, we already knew that multiverses were pretty much confirmed. We've talked about it. We've hinted at it in Spider-Man Far From Home with Mysterio showing up, and we've talked about it with obviously the Doctor Strange movie, which hasn't dropped yet, but it's called Multiverse of Madness or something like that. Madness Multiverse, whatever. We know it's a thing. Multiverse War, for those of you guys who don't know, is referring to the comics. I think it's referring to Secret Wars. It's either that or there was another event that happened in comics maybe a few years ago. I think it was also Secret Wars. Crap, I can't remember. But it's this big thing where all these timelines crisscross, come together, events, characters, etc. Oh my god. So, the whole basis of the show is the TVA works to not have these events occur again. Will these events occur again? I don't know, but very cool, very interesting to see and acknowledge the Multiverse War and the event of we're just getting more and more steam for like crossover in characters like Miles Morales showing up or Spider-Gwen showing up. I know those are both Spider-Man related characters, but these are the ones I'm going with. Just like other timeline, quote unquote, other heroes and how they're different, and it's so cool. I don't know. So we get that. They talked about how it can be affected. Simple things as being late for work can affect it, which I thought was funny. Which, I mean, makes sense. We've always joked about it just in general, I'm sure, in conversation from time to time. Like, oh, what if you did X instead of this? And then, you know, how would that affect the time and the butterfly effect and all that jazz. So simplest thing can affect it, like being late for work. And if it goes too far off the path, I think, towards this red line, which we see later, it could explode into another type of multiverse war event. So there's that. We finally get the title card after all this. So we had a big-ass opening from the previous one. And we pop over to 1549. I'm probably going to mispronounce this. Aix-en France. something's going on there. We get some dead TVA agents on the ground in this church, and we see Owen Wilson's character, who will be introduced to us as Agent Mobius, checking in on them, there. Apparently this is not the first time that the attack like this has happened where the agents have been killed. It's the sixth attack at this point. There's a small child there. Mobius is checking in on with him. I think it was a him. Maybe it was a her. Them. To see if they have any information about the attack. He points at it's not a painting, but the glasswork of very strange glasswork piece of pretty much a devil that looks like Jesus. Points at that. So there's a devil causing mischief. I'm not sure if this was just another Mephisto joke because the whole WandaVision thing, or if it is actually Mephisto. We'll find out later who it actually is. Odd comparison, I would say, for devil and who we're going to find out it is. Don't fully understand that, but the kid mentions it's them, and then they also had a stick of gum or some type of gum because their teeth were blue. So that might lead to some thread of where this character has been. So they inspect that, reset the time once again in that area, and continue on. It's the god of mischief. Let's see. Oh, okay. So now Loki's being processed now. He's at the stand talking all that stuff. He's trying to figure out why the TVA is involved, like how it works, all these things. Mentions how he's the god of mischief doing tricks when they ask if he's guilty or not guilty of the actions he's doing here. He mentions the events of his escape with the Tesseract. He knows that the Avengers are time traveling to do like that whole sequence, which I thought was like red flag. Hello. Now he mentions he knew this because of Tony's cologne, smelling two of them, or that amount of cologne. I just thought it was really interesting that he knew that was actively going on, the concept of time traveling and whatnot. Now, maybe this is an Asgard thing. I don't know. Just thought it was like, what? Hold on a second. You brought that up. So he knows that. He's like, why can they do it? Why can they mess around? And I can't do things. TVA agent pretty much says that was supposed to happen. So this is part of the sacred timeline. Now, that busted my brain too, because, okay, in Endgame, the whole reason we know, like, that Hulk was able to get the Time Stone, right? He talked to the, Tilda Swinton's character, blanking on the character's actual name, Sorcerer Supreme. Thank you, brain. He's talking to the Sorcerer Supreme, and she even talks about if you pluck the time stone from here, then it makes branches. The multiverse talks that we just literally chatted about, brings those all back. But if they reset it, then everything's fine. Weird that TVA brings this up like the time travel is supposed to happen, and that's A-okay. Is it just because they know events will reset it later by Cap bringing them back? Is that why it's all okay and not a big issue that they did this thing? Maybe. But then the question becomes, like, 2016 Thanos came back with the army and the end fight. Like, how is that not an issue of timelines? Because Bad Nebula came forward. Like, was that another timeline? I'm making this more confusing and convoluted as I'm talking about it out loud. A lot of questions. I don't know. So I guess maybe we'll figure that out. Maybe we won't. Is there multiple timelines? Is there not multiple timelines? Was that a multiverse? Fucking, I don't know. Things are confusing. So we get that whole explanation how he knows what's going on. He's questioning TVA. What the fuck? Tries to cause more mischief, tries to use his powers. He cannot in the TVA world, whatever you want to call this. Magic does not work there. As I was watching this whole sequence of guilty, not guilty, I was wondering, like, why are they even doing this trial? That they know that it's a variant, that, like, something happened. So wouldn't they all technically be guilty of whatever action had taken place from varying them from the path? So wouldn't all trials just be like zip zap by? I don't know. So we got that. Fancy City we see. We get the introduction of Mobius officially. Time passes differently here. And Mobius, we learn, is in charge of dealing with dangerous variants that kind of get out, I guess, and are messing with things. And then we get the little one-on-one session between Agent Mobius and Loki, trying to really figure out Loki's priorities and motives. He mentions that it's his goal to rule Midgard, aka Earth. And we get some flashbacks and kind of like, this is your life moment from Loki. We had an interesting little throw in here that they're saying Loki is, I'm not sure it's his DV or DB. I think it's DB. DB Cooper with the whole plane thing.
It's B.
It is B?
Yeah.
Okay. It was. I thought this was very interesting. They tossed that in there. I only know about that situation through Red Web. Shout out to Red Web and Rooster Teeth. But I was like, oh shit, hello. So they're saying he was part of that, and then he teleported away with Asgard stuff, and all the money went whoosh, flying, and it was some bet he lost that he had to do. So interesting tie-in. Don't know why we did it, but it was there. So yeah, we get more of that interaction. Along with that, Mobius kind of revisits Loki's past events, him fighting the Avengers, him attacking Germany, him like doing certain things, and trying to pick his brain and, like I said, really figure out what makes him tick. Through this, he will eventually show Loki that his mom died, and this was caused by him sending troops the wrong way. I was wondering if at this point that Mobius was going to skip ahead to Loki's own death and be like, here's how it ended. He did not, so thank goodness for that. So as this is going on, Mobius gets another little call, and apparently another unit has been taken out. This will be the 7th unit, as we'll find out later. So as Mobius goes to check on that, Loki's left alone, and Mobius leaves his little time looper device, forward, reverse, etc., that can pretty much controls his collar. So Loki's trying to escape now, trying to get out of there with the Tesseract, get out, escape. As he's doing this, we see some interesting things. One is a quick, very, very quick Easter egg that if you didn't see it, I don't blame you. I got spoiled on this via Twitter. That's how I know it happened. As he's running away, you can see in the very background there are some agents that are moving a woman from the little time door into whatever hallway it is. Peggy Carter. Don't ask why. I don't know. I can't confirm it's her, but Twitter seems to be that's the case. The hair was similar. I didn't pause to see her face, so it could have just been somebody else, like I mixed up Flash with the guy. But it looked like Peggy. I don't know what the fuck that... I never watched Agent Carter. Gonna admit that right here, so I don't know. If this ties into Agent Carter anyway, how were people not talking about Agent Carter earlier? I don't know. But if that was her, cool. So he's still trying to make his way out, whatever. He finds the lost and found, or the detainment unit, I guess you'd call it. He's looking for his Tesseract. Threatens the guy. The guy doesn't understand what things are going on because he's lived there his whole life and worked. Shows him where the Tesseract is. Picks up the Tesseract. Loki notices something else. This was the second thing I got spoiled on. There's a wide variety of Infinity Stones just sitting in this drawer. Time Stones, Soul Stones, what was the red one? Whatever. They're all in there. Loki's like, what? We cut back to the other guy, and he's joking, oh yeah, these are sometimes used as paperweights and whatever. We get a lot of those. So whatever variants are happening here, people, usually the gems or the stones, have been involved a lot. So we essentially have now learned that these Infinity Stones aren't really all that powerful. Well, they're powerful, but they're not all that important. All right. Interesting. With these thoughts, Loki's kind of having like a little bit of a crisis here in his own head. He goes back to the room he's being held in to kind of look through his history once again. He ends up skipping to his death like I thought was going to happen earlier. So he sees Thanos choke him out. Before that, he does see some good moments with his mom, good moments with his dad, with Thor from Thor 3. So he kind of is getting emotional with these moments of his parents passing away, and then obviously, reconciling with his brother. Then he skips ahead to the Thanos moment where he gets choked out and his neck is snapped, and he just is lost because that's the end. We see the confirmation file is done, so we're officially confirming. I think most of us confirmed it already that Loki was dead, but we know now officially Loki is done, finito, Finn, at this point, that Loki is gone. So we see that. After that clip, he's really trying to figure out what he wants to do. There was some line or something he said to himself, which I can't remember 100%, so I'm not even going to attempt to quote it. But it seemed like he was maybe thinking of taking over TVA now because he learned that the Infinity Stones were useless. Like, this is the all-powerful thing now, is the TVA. We control time, we control fate, whatever you want to call it. We control everything. So, there's that. I did write a note, anything, like if there was any chance that there was skipping ahead after file is done. No, it's a little dim. So yeah, confirmed dead there. After this, Mobius does return. Does a little final chat with him. They kind of recap things Mobius was trying to get out of him, but now has done freely, that the things he's doing are just a desperate play for control. The killings, the violence, whatever it is. Mobius is glad that he's finally opened up, says he could use his help to find a variant that he's dealing with that's very dangerous. And it turns out this dangerous variant that he's dealing with is Loki. It's another Loki time variant that is causing all this problems. We skip ahead to 1858, skip ahead, backwards, whatever we want to call it. Skip ahead to 1858, Oklahoma, where we see another troop. This is pretty much a flashback to the 7th troop that we heard about before, I'm guessing. We see this troop show up. They noticed there was a lot of oil on the ground. They said that there was some time travel, maybe trying to take advantage of oil sales, whatever it was. And they're about to reset. As they're setting up to reset, we see a hooded figure out in the field with a torch, or a lantern rather. Throw the lantern on the ground. There's a big oil, obviously, pattern on the ground, sets it ablaze, killing the troop here. One manages to get away. This hooded character takes care of them and picks up the little device that resets the timeline. So now they have that in their possession. We never see a face. We never see any distinguishing the horns, the scepter, not really, but like anything distinguishing Loki. And that's where we pretty much end it. It seems like now we have a small chance that we're eventually going to get evil Loki. Now, like I said, that's where the episode ends. Some questions that come out of this specific moment. We never see a face or any depiction of like his physical stature. So I'm wondering if we're going to go this evil Loki route that does exist, another villain in the MCU. Is it going to be a Loki that's from a different multiverse and maybe is different in appearance. Now, the reason I asked this is in a small, I think it was a small run of the comics, Loki is actually female. And, it goes from there. Could we see maybe a lady Loki being the villainous one, and then we have obviously Tom Hiddleston's Loki being this TVA agent trying to fix this? I don't know. That could be throwing a stone real far. It's going to be interesting because I don't know if they'll do, obviously they could have him act both. It's not that difficult, especially now, to do. I'm just find it very curious that they didn't show any physical features. Just thought that was odd. On another thought, if that thread of what I heard of him maybe contemplating taking over TVA, when does that come into play? I don't know how long this series is. I know WandaVision, we had quite a few episodes. I think it was 8 or something. Falcon Winter Soldier, we had 6. I don't know if this is a 6 episode or an 8 or whatever it is. I'll have to look that up at some point. It's going to be interesting to see how events play out. Now, we're only in episode 1, so granted, there's a lot more story to tell. Duh. But I'm already wondering end result. Is this Loki going to be fine and either return to the sacred timeline, or is he going to take over TVA? What's going on with Hooded Loki? Who is it? Whatever. A lot of interesting things there. One note before I get to theories in chat, which I'm enjoying seeing. I had a very quick conversation with JC earlier today, right after I watched it. JC was on a previous episode of Wait, What Are We Talking About? Where we're talking some Marvel stuff, and I was like, things got to be connected. He mentioned how he wasn't really looking forward to the series, but I messaged him like, hey, check it out if you get a chance. Turns out he did, and he had some thoughts about it, which I thought were really interesting. So he said he's enjoying it so far. He's, there's some things he's not fully invested in, but he's enjoying how it started. He mentioned how the TVA is this all-powerful thing, right? We talked about controlling time. We talked about controlling fate. We talked about all these things. And the Infinity Stones are just going, and they're useless. The Eternals is a movie that's coming out next year. I don't know. But they released a teaser for it. I don't know if they have a full trailer out now. If they do, whoops, I missed it. They've kind of mentioned the Eternals being these higher-ups too. We've heard about them a little bit in the Guardians of the Galaxy, I believe. They're supposed to be these all-powerful things. So with the TVA being revealed as this supreme power thing, he's wondering if that undercuts the Eternals and just whatever. Which I agree. It's an odd move to do. I could see it doing it afterwards, but I don't know. I thought that was an interesting point to bring up. I don't know. With the TVA being this, it's good that it's important. It's just, it's curious how it's going to affect things going forward. And maybe the audience will have short-term memory sounds weird, but maybe the retention factor of no, this does mean something, this is powerful, this is a threat, if that makes sense, not this sacred timeline thing. I don't know, it's tough to say. Then again, with this series, I talked about it right at the beginning with the multiverse war. Maybe we're heading into another multiverse war, and the whole TVA thing is going to be blown wide open. Maybe we'll get the Earth 616 timeline. Maybe we'll get the other Earths. I think 616 is Marvel. Hopefully that's not DC. This is a Marvel show. What are you doing? Hopefully all these different, maybe that's how we get the timelines. And if that is, then we're going to get in the whole thing of, once again, Charlie Day pinging all these things on the bulletin board of how do we keep this all straight and understandable? I don't know. Maybe TVA will do a whole nother reset afterwards. A lot of questions going from there on that. So just a thought and theory from him. Appreciate him getting back to me and sharing his thoughts. So yeah, let's see. So yeah, it was definitely, Mr. G said, it definitely was sad to see him go through his memories and see himself get killed. Lady makes the interesting observations that all I have to say is it's a travesty. They made someone as handsome as Tom Hiddleston look exactly like Tommy Wiseau from The Room. I mean, kind of. I don't know. I never thought of him like that. I like the long hair.
That was the first thing I thought of when I saw that.
Interesting. Okay.
It's creepy.
Interesting. Mrs. G confirms 6 episodes, and then she also mentions the devil picture could be a representation of Loki with the horns and his helmet. Gotcha. Yeah, that definitely could be it. It was just like, that's a very weird placing in a church for that kind of like stained glass window. Like, I know the Bible talks about, heaven, hell, all that stuff, but like, really? You want that in your place of worship? Just like, oh yeah, there's a devil there. Wouldn't you want good imagery? I don't know. That seemed odd. But I could definitely understand how those two kind of line up together. The horn helmet and the devil imagery. I could definitely see that. Yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. And it's only a few days away now till episode 2 from recording, obviously. It's a big mind fuck of like just how's that, where are we going from here? Are we going the multiverse route? Are we like what's threatening now? Is this a Kang the Conqueror thing? Is he part of the perfect timeline thing? So like he's not even that important. Like I feel the way we have to go forward to make things seem more impactful is we have to get rid of TVA, right? Like, but it's so difficult to think of like, if they don't, how things are going to feel threatening. Now then again, like they're not, when they say the perfect timeline or whatever the exact phrasing was, let me see if I can find it again, sacred timeline, excuse me, they do mention others becoming the best of themselves when Mobius shows the Avengers photo. But like they're not promising good things happen. Clearly bad things have happened and will continue to happen. It's just weird to kind of think of like a villain as threatening now, if that makes sense, with it being all scripted per se, or like things in line, in order. So whatever the big bad is next in the Marvel movies, we haven't really established anything yet. Like obviously we could do what the Marvel movies did in phase 1, like everybody's doing their own thing. Iron Man's doing his thing, Thor's doing his thing, Cap's doing his thing, fine. And then after Avengers 1, we get the reveal of Thanos being the big bad for obviously the overarching Infinity Saga we would end up seeing. We could do that in phase 4. We could have the Black Widow movie, Taskmaster, whatever that, maybe the new Black Widow, whatever that turns out to be. We can have Eternals, just establishing them similar to the Guardians. Maybe that could be the first start hints and inklings of something bigger. Doctor Strange, like they don't really have a movie planned yet that's like the Avengers scale, like the big team up movie, I guess you could say. So I guess maybe we could be slow burning this to eventually reveal another big bad. If we eventually, like, I assume we got to be building towards it, right? Because like, why else are they all just teaming up? Like, is this just going to be an Ultron situation or it's a throwaway? I say throwaway in a nice way. I did like Age of Ultron. I did like Ultron, how he's depicted. I hope he's still around, yes. But, like, he didn't really fit in to Thanos specifically. Like, Avengers 1 was Loki working for Thanos to go do that thing. Ultron was Tony's thing. Oops, mistake. We got Vision out of it, That was the point there. And all the weird cutaways of Thor seeing things in the future and the time travel in their own head of like, oh no, things are going to get worse. Like, not time travel, but nightmares. Like, if you look at it, Avengers 2 is kind of toss away villain-wise. But plot-wise, it kind of makes sense for building purposes. But, like, it doesn't add up in the Thanos part of it. I think that's what I'm trying to get to. Like, Thanos-wise, doesn't really add up in the build. Then, obviously, we get, Infinity War, snippety snap, don't go back. We got that, and then Endgame. Obviously, that all works out. So, what are we doing now? So, like, Widow could do her own thing. Eternals could do their own thing. Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch can do their own thing. Spider-Man's obviously going to be doing his own thing. Like, there's just a lot more questions. I mean, they're already there now that I'm talking out loud, but more questions now with this whole sacred timeline thing. Fuck, man. It's just, we're starting to get to the point of like, how do we keep it all? I keep talking about how do we all keep it in line? Who knows? But yes, eventually, like, they got to team up again. It has to happen. There has to be, well, I guess Endgame was technically Avengers 4, right? So there has to be an Avengers 5 at some point. But what is going to be the threat that ties them together to do that? Like, it's not just... Hopefully, it's not just going to be another Ultron moment where it's just like, hey, out of nowhere, we happen to be conveniently together doing missions, and let's now tackle this guy. Like, it just seems off like that. Off. I don't know why I'm saying off weird. Seems off if that's the plan that they're going with. And I don't think it is, but we just have no hint or inkling of where we're going. What are we doing? We just know it's continuing. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Taking the things from the movies, which we haven't gotten any yet. We got our first one in a month with Black Widow. I mean, technically Far From Home, I guess, counts, because that was post-Endgame. So, yeah, we've had one. Now we got to get the others and maybe start taking things from those and then taking things from the Marvel shows we've gotten so far. Obviously, we know what Wanda's doing. We know the Cap Bucky situation. And now we're starting to get the Loki situation. Like, there's going to be things that kind of converge from both. They're not separate timelines, but both forms of media that hopefully make this center of, like, this is where we're going. This is the storytelling. But right now, it's a lot of questions. I don't know. Ay. But anyways, that was episode 1 of Loki, Glorious Purpose. I really enjoyed it. I'm excited for the conversations we're going to have with this series. The randomness, the mystery element, the just what the fuck is going on, because I think that's going to make for a lot of interesting talks, a lot of interesting conversations and theories and whatnot. So I'm really excited to see where this series goes from here and with the rest of the 5 episodes. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in today, watching, listen, etc. Remember, this has been the Marvel Plus Podcast, where we talk about all things Disney Plus, Marvel show-wise, and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Bret, a.k.a. Enigma9011, and if you want to catch this live, you can go to twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, unless we pre-record, change the time. We'll let you know via socials. You check it out over there. Join in the chat if you're a sub. Let us know your thoughts. If you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. It's posted the very next day over on YouTube and SoundCloud at 12 noon Eastern. You check it out over there. Leave your stuff in the comments below. I'll be happy to check it out and bring it up in the next episode. Yeah, excited to talk more Marvel with you guys. Excited to be back. Hopefully we can figure out what's going on with this show, but everybody just strap in for the ride, because it seems like it's going to be a crazy one. Appreciate you guys hanging out today, whether it was watching or listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.